Do you remember your first ever Dungeons and Dragons character? I do. He wasn't the best. He wasn't the most beautifully painted. He didn't have the greatest adventures at the time. He was the first. Judging by the comments you're leaving, you also have things you remember because they were the first. He wasn't the most powerful. That's not why I remember him. I can remember everyone that was sat around that table. Sometimes when I throw an old dice, which I take out of the box by mistake, all my dice are in one big mixed up box, a bit like my Lego used to be when I was a kid. And I'll pull out an old dice and just go, ah, and I zoom back. I think one thing I have to say about these videos is that I am a lot older than a lot of the people who were commenting. I was nearly 23 when Dungeons and Dragons appeared in the United Kingdom. What I always intended when I started this channel to let people see, perhaps people my age who had some issues with perhaps illness, dexterity, like me, Parkinson's, that whatever your hobby is, you can carry on doing it. That was as far as I got with my big plan. And we've gone somewhere new now, and it's somewhere really exciting. But it's about you. It's not about me, and that's fantastic. I love that. I love it being about you. And so, on that vein, as a catalyst, if you like, I'm going to tell you some of my early growth and people who influenced me in Dungeons and Dragons, in the hope that you can tell me about people maybe who influenced you. And I might, because I've not scripted it. You have. I haven't. Honestly, I haven't. I've scripted. There's nothing here. I was introduced to fantasy wargaming by a young man who was called Murray, and he was at Doncaster War Games Club, and he was, and I'm not sure he knew how kind he was, but he was our hero. He was older than us. He had a proper job. He was cool. He always had the right stuff to wear. He knew everything about wargaming that we as young teenagers ever wanted to know, and he was prepared to share. So when I was doing Napoleonic in the very early days, he was at the stamp corner when you went in, and he'd help you with things. Tell you what figures to get, tell you what figures not to get, more importantly. You could go into the stamp corner and, like, it was true of a lot of South Yorkshire pit mining areas. I don't know about anywhere else, but I'm just telling you, often like your mums, your dads, your granddads couldn't afford a full packet of cigarettes because they were expensive. So what they'd do is they'd go into the newsagents where cigarettes were sold and say, "Can I have a packet of Players?" Sorry, put it on a shelf. And then your granddad might say to you, "Here's threepence, go down to the shop and get me 2 Players." So you scuttle off and you say to the lady in the shop, "My granddad wants 2 Players, please." You say, "Okay," you pay money, and she gets his box down, and there's all these miners' boxes all on. So give you 2. Off you go. Thanks very much. And my voice broke very early. And you scuttle off. Buying figures for me was a bit like that, because I told Murray and the guys at Stamp Corner, the man and woman who were on Stamp Corner, that I was getting Prussian Napoleonic, Hinchcliffe 25mm, so they had them in. And my mum used to go in on a Wednesday clueless as to what I wanted, but she'd go downstairs and she'd say, "Our Galen wants," however many I could afford, 2, 3, 4 of his soldiers. toy soldiers. And they'd go, okay, we know what he wants, have some of them. And they'd pop off in a bag. But as I got more into wargaming, Murray went beyond that, because he was the first person I saw playing with miniature figures made for Lord of the Rings. Let's put Lord Gellin down there, he won't mind. And he was playing with Ithilians and orcs in a forest of Britain's oak trees. So that was he didn't know he influenced that, but he was the guy playing that game. And when I said to him, "Oh, that's The Hobbit," and he went, "Ah, it's Lord of the Rings," he could have gone, "Yeah, idiot," but he didn't. He took time to tell me that Lord of the Rings was a book, so I went and read it. And I went to him and I said, "Where do I get those figures from?" And he told me. And he had rules. I've still got some somewhere. You could go down to the stamp corner and he'd photocopy. I don't know if they were photocopies. I don't know what they did back then. But anyway, there are copies of them. And he'd give you the rules for miniature figurines fantasy games. So he got me into fantasy. Important step if you're going to play Dungeons and Dragons, I'm sure you'll agree. So that's number one, right? So I've now, because of Murray, I've read Lord of the Rings and I've got fantasy figures. You see where this is going? It's clever, isn't it? Now, there's a hiatus then, because this is so well before Dungeons and Dragons. My brother and I start playing role with figures, and we start playing role plays, but we don't know what they're called because we're making them up. Then that's Murray, first influence. Second influence, towards the end of being at college, when we were at college, we shared rooms. So you had rooms in college, and there were pairs of you. My wife's partner, who was in the college with us, her fiance invited us to play a game. Sunday afternoon. I remember it, Sunday afternoon. So we went around Sunday afternoon and we sat on the floor and opened this box and we took out all these orange cards, and it was the Sorcerer's Cave, Avalon Hill. I loved it. So so now I've got miniature figurines and I've got Avalon Hill, Sorcerer's Cave. Now, because of Sorcerer's Cave, by some weird accident of fate, I tried to order more cards to make my Sorcerer's Cave bigger, but what came from the place I ordered it was the Tomb of Horrors. The Tomb of Horrors in a little envelope. Didn't know what it was, no instructions. The figures in it, the characters in it didn't match my Lord of the Rings army quite. Put me off a bit. But I got it in the summer holidays. By the end of the summer holidays, I sorted out that I liked it and I wanted to play a game. We played it on my grandma and granddad's dining table. They also had a coal fire. If you'd been a coal miner back in the olden times, you got free coal. So we always had a proper coal fire at my granddad's. What I hope from this video is that you go away and say, aha, yeah, hang on, my experiences are not like his. No, of course not. They're your experiences, they're not mine. And I'm not telling you my experiences because I think my experiences are somehow better or more valid than yours. They're not. They're different. See, quite a lot of you talk about, oh, we had a teacher at school who did that. I was the teacher at school who was doing that. So that's pretty much how it developed, really, for me. I hope there's some resonance there. No one has your journey experience but you. Ta-ra, Chuck.